to audiences of all ages. For his significant contribution to children of Tampa Bay, the music educator possessed in 1998 Friends of the Arts, and the Hillsborough County Elementary Music Educator recognized him as the Music Teacher of the Year in 1998. Please join me in welcoming Thomas Wilkins.
Good morning. Good morning. I guess it's safe to say that there is no music happening in the state of Nebraska. My kids came home last night and they said, yesterday, we had a substitute for band. And my other daughter said, well, I had a substitute for chorus. And I went, I think I know where your teacher's. She did tell me though that they videotaped the classroom with a substitute, and I thought that's a very smart thing to do. Well, it's a delight to be here with you this morning. It's always a little nerve-wracking. There he is. It's always a little nerve-wracking for me to be in front of people like you, because usually I get to talk to people who don't know anything about music, and I can fake them. I'm in front of some of the most influential people in the world, and it's a great honor and really a great privilege. I kind of marvel sometimes when I go to conduct an off-state or talk to people who are musicians, that they introduce me as a professional musician in the room, and I think, well, that's a little silly. You're the ones who are the professionals in the room. I mean, think about it. My musicians come to the first rehearsal with all the notes learned. Your musicians come where they're playing the clarinet like this in the front. I think for sure you have a much harder job than I do. Which means I am in awe of you. I can tell you that for sure. I want to take you back to July 14, 1789. The world is changing drastically at this time. There's a bunch of just citizens, if you will, in Paris, and they stormed the Bastille. And they freed about 7 political prisoners. And then they were parading through the streets with the heads of prison guards on poles. And in a very short order, things will change in France. In 3 years, 1792, for example, to be specific, Louis XVI will be removed from power. France will be declared a republic. 1792, this is the year that Goethe, for example, the great philosopher and poet, was publishing papers on the science of optics, believe it or not. He was also directing theater at Weimar. Haydn was at the height of his fame in 1792. Mozart, by the way, Mozart's body was lying on a pauper's grave. George Washington was president of the United States of America. And in France, after Louis XVI was booted out, a young, really obscure lieutenant of the artillery by the name of Napoleon was going to rise to power. This was also the same year that there's a 22-year-old young composer traveling from Bonn to Vienna, 500 miles. A trip that would take him 2 weeks by stagecoach. He's going to study with this great Franz Joseph Haydn who had discovered him earlier. And the world would profoundly impact this young man as a composer. His name was Ludwig van Beethoven. No money, lots of enthusiasm. And he would inherit this world that was changing drastically. He would also inherit this art form called the symphony. Now, Haydn and Mozart had left this incredible example for Beethoven to follow, if you will. But Beethoven would take that symphony and change it drastically. Unlike Haydn and Mozart, Beethoven was a composer who wore his heart on his sleeve. He was highly self-critical. He would write sketch after sketch after sketch. And then oftentimes, the work itself, when it was finished, would be shorter than the sketches that he wrote for the work. But all of these events, Napoleon and the world changing so drastically, all of its scientific endeavors and all of its sort of political upheaval, all of this would find itself present in Beethoven's music. The other thing that would be present in Beethoven's music, though, was Beethoven. Because that was the kind of person that he was. He knew that music meant something. He would endeavor to communicate that meaning in his music. I love to ask little kids, what it is that they think I do when I'm waving my arms. And the answers are great, you know. You'll get answers like, oh, you're telling the orchestra when to start. Absolutely. You're telling the orchestra when to stop. Absolutely. How loud to play? Yes. How soft to play? Yes. How fast to play? Yes. How slow to play? Yes. All of those things are great answers. And every once in a while, some kid will say, you're telling the orchestra how to play. And most of the other kids in the room will laugh. They think that's kind of funny. And I say that that is exactly what my job is. Because my musicians, they can look at the pages, they can know how fast and how slow it goes, and my movements certainly mean certain things in that regard. But what I say to them is that really what my job is to unify the concept. Because we all walk in the room with our own ideas, with all our own training, all our background. We have our own ideas as to how the music goes, but someone has to say, no, I really believe it's Caribbean and not Caribbean. And when I explain this to non-musicians, I use this example. I say to them, if I were to say to you, he lost his life, not only his home, then the meaning is very specific. But if I were to use the exact same words and say he lost his life, not only his home, the meaning is drastically different. Drastically different. Music means something. And music has to be executed in order to be something. You can't just talk about it. It has no impact if you only talk about it. This is what our job is. It's to make sure that music is executed so that its meaning is communicated. I have a buddy in Florida. He's a headmaster of a set of private schools in St. Petersburg, Florida. And one day when they were at dinner, I love working with kids, and I said to him, why don't you let me come over and conduct your kids? You know, talk to your orchestra director. He said, okay, I'll give you a call. So he calls me the next morning and said, how much time do you have? I said, well, I have as much as you like. He says, can you give me the entire day? I said, well, sure, yeah. He says, okay, we start at 7 o'clock. I said, you mean in the morning? I've actually seen 7 o'clock. I'll give it a shot. So sure enough, I go over at 7 o'clock. I conduct 5th grade band, 6th grade band, 7th grade chorus, 8th grade girls chorus, 9th grade band, 12th grade chorus, full chorus, and then at the end of the day, I'm conducting the concert band. All the upperclassmen, you know, and they're late getting started, and we're doing this. It's a chaconne. Somebody here will remember one of those suites for band. Oh, thank you. And so I'm conducting it, and they're playing it, and I'm talking to them, yelling, play it this way, you know. So we get to the end of this thing, and it's beautiful, you know, this chaconne. It starts so innocently, and then it just blossoms, and then with each passing, this melody is cast in a different light, and it becomes even more profound as it goes on. And so we're talking through all of this stuff, and every once in a while I'll stop, but mostly we're just playing and talking. And I'm yelling over them, and this thing grows with this grand adventure. And we come to the end, and I look at this kid who's playing clarinet, by the way. His hands were in the right place, but we got to the end, and he went like this. Young lady sitting beside him. And I thought to myself in that moment, I wonder what happened to him. Could it be that for the very first time in his life, he realized that this music was more important than him? Is it possible that for the very first time in his life, he understood that music had meaning? Or did he discover for the very first time in his life that this thing, these scales, all this stuff that he was doing was for the purpose of communicating incredible beauty and power? And then, by extension, did he discover maybe there was something inside of him called his very soul, his very self, that he found in that moment? I don't know. It's very possible that those are the things that he discovered in that moment. life-altering, this business that we're in. Life-altering. I have a friend who's a saxophone player. He played on a Tommy Dorsey band for a long time, and when they traveled around the country, they were responsible for their own housing. And so, I was living in Chicago at the time, and he was staying with my wife and I when he was in town. And so one day he comes to stay, and he says, "There's this place in Evanston called Evanston Band and Orchestra. There's a mouthpiece maker. His name is Frank." And I need him to work on my mouth. Do you know this guy? So he said, "Well, yeah, I know where it is. I'll drive you up there." And you walk in the front of the store, and it's a music store. I mean, there's music stands, and there's, flutes and violins hanging on the shelves, just rosin, whatever. It's all in there. And sure enough, we walk in the door, and we said, "There's a guy named Frank." It is Frank, right? So there's a guy named Frank here. We're like, "Oh, yeah, he's in the back." So we go all the way through the store, and there's the room with a door. No window, just a room with a door. Knock on the door, you hear the voice, "Come on!" That's right. We walk in the door, and you are immediately, 3 decades removed. And there is stuff everywhere. There's pictures on the wall. There's a picture of Frank with John Coltrane. Not a poster of John Coltrane. There's a picture of Frank with Cannonball Adderley. You're thinking, holy mackerel, this guy must be something. So Mark comes in, Mark's young, whippersnapper, blood red hair, freckles and the whole bit, clarinet, So Frank goes, "All right, take it out." Mark takes it out. He said, "Play something." Mark plays something. He goes, "Give it to me." Takes the mouthpiece, and his desk is covered with stuff, covered with tools and dust and paper. So Frank starts to look for a tool. His hand is doing this. And he picks up a tool. That's not the right tool. He's got the mouthpiece right here, and his hand is looking for a tool. And I'm over here like Tamar Hunt. And he does this. Hands the mouthpiece back to Mark. Mark goes, "All right, play something." Mark plays. No, give it back. Same thing. Picks up a tool. No. Picks up another tool. Okay, got the right one. Starts to shape this mouthpiece. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? I thought about my friend he's actually was my pastor in St. Pete, and a good buddy, but really the cheapest guy I've ever met. If you go to lunch with him, you're going to lunch based on the coupons that he has. So he told me this story of walking down the street and finds this watch. And the watch is laying on the ground. It's covered with dirt. Crystal's broken on the front. Looks down and realizes the watch is not running. But it's rock. So he picks up the watch. He takes the watch and he brushes off the crystal, the dirt, sitting on the laying on the dirt. He turns the spin and the watch starts to run. The watch did what it was intended to do. He thought to himself, I wonder, because he's a pastor, he's thinking, there's got to be a sermon illustration in here. And he thought to himself, I wonder how many times people have watched this watch, or seen this watch in the dirt, with its face covered, and its crystal cracked, and its arms not moving. And I wonder how many times they just walked right over here. When all they needed to do was pick it up, brush it off, and turn the spin. And the watch would do what it was built for. See, I believe that that little boy with the clarinet in his hand, who maybe discovered his very self that day, also discovered that, wait a minute, this is what I'm intended for. I'm intended for beauty and for passion and for enthusiasm and for changing the life of the people who hear the music I play. This is where his work ethic will come from. I bet you don't have to beat that kid over the head about practice anymore, because he understands that music means something. This is what I was intended for. Same thing with Rich. He was built to do this, because he understands that when he does this, miraculous things can happen with the sound that is created from the mouthpiece that he has prepared to go on the clarinet. This is what he was intended for. His stem somewhere had been turned. This young boy with the clarinet, I think at that moment, his stem was turned. Remember when your stem was turned? Man, do I remember when mine was. It's probably why I'm so unchangeable in my belief in music education. When I was in Norfolk, Virginia, in those days the term was B.O.W., born out of wedlock, mother on welfare. Mother and father never married. I knew my father, but I never lived with him. I didn't have that figure in the house to show me how to be a man. I learned how to be a father from Ward Cleveland, for crying out loud. Explain why I still wear a sweater and a tie. Mowing the lawn with tires. But sure enough, my third grade class gets on a bus, goes to this place called the Arena Theater. We're going to hear this thing called an orchestra, and it's called, in those days it was the Norfolk Symphony Orchestra, now it's the Virginia Symphony, but it was the Norfolk Symphony Orchestra. Russell Stanger was the conductor, I'll never forget. And the orchestra was there, and they were all warming up and everything, and sure enough, the lights went down, the conductor came out, the orchestra stood, the conductor started to conduct, and they played the Star Spangled Banner. I heard the Star Spangled Banner before, but never in the voice of the orchestra. And I decided at that very moment that I wanted to be a conductor. It's weird. But at that moment, for the very first time, my stem was changed. And here's the cool part. No one ever said to me, come on. Here we go. Young black boys don't grow up to be conductors. Or poor kids don't grow up to be conductors. No adult ever said that to me, and no teacher ever said that to me. You gotta be careful sometimes about the words that we choose when we talk to children. No one ever said that. They would say things like, oh, you're gonna be the first black Leonard Bernstein. I'm shocked that they even knew who Leonard Bernstein was. More than one person would say that to me as a young kid. And I think about what happened in that moment when my stem was turned. My life was literally changed by music. Literally changed by music. But think about this now. I'm a kid in a housing project. I decided at that moment that this is what I want to do. And all of my critical life choices are made for me by default as a young boy. Who am I going to hang out with? Who are going to be the people in my life? Well, I'm going to hang out with people who feel the same way I feel about music. Okay? That question's answered. What about the places that I find myself? I'm going to hang out in the street, or young girls, by the way, get pregnant between the hours of 4 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's when they come home and there's no parent home. It's not on a Saturday night. But for the places that I'm going to find myself, the practice room, the library, the orchestra room, the band room, the chorus room, those are going to be the settings in my life. And will I dream about going to college? Of course I'll go to college, because that's where I have to go in order to see this dream become a reality. All my critical life choices made for me by default because of music. Don't argue with me about the power of music or the power of music education. You're going to get nowhere, because it saved my life. I used to take my little green army soldiers, you know, the ones that are in different positions. I would sort of set them up like an orchestra conductor. And this saved me throughout all of school. But there was one other moment that I have to share with you, because I know you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Usually, non-musicians, I have to extra explain it. But so here I am now. I decided to apply to 3 schools for conducting. My undergraduate degree is in music education because you learn more about music with an education degree. No one needs a piece of paper that says you can play the instrument. My teacher would say, just shut up and play. But now I'm on to graduate school and I'm on a degree in orchestral conducting. And so I go to New England Conservatory of Music to apply. Juilliard, New England Conservatory of Music in Cincinnati. And my New England audition was before my Juilliard. I even got an audition at Juilliard, which I thought was pretty cool. But I think I'd almost live in New York. And so I go to Boston to take this audition. There are 28 people auditioning for 3 conducting spots. Which is right, I mean, because you don't learn this craft by watching, you learn it by doing it. So you have to make sure that you have plenty of time to conduct. So here I am. I'm in the penultimate group of 7 to visit Boston and take the audition. And so I'm standing there on the podium. That's the first round. It's conducting the orchestra. And 6 or 7 things we have to conduct, and it's going really well. And I mean, it's, I'm very coordinated, and I'm very charming, and it's really well. And I'm thinking to myself, this is great. And when I'm done, the orchestra applauds, for crying out loud. I'm thinking, yes. And then, before lunch, we take a musical skills test. Now, I waited 2 years before graduate school because I needed to learn scores, and so I worked at an athletic apparel store, something that you could sort of punch the clock and then still have brain power to go home and study. But every morning, I'd go over to a university and practice a little piano and then go to work at the mall and then come home and study. But I hadn't really done any ear training at that time, and you're done with ear training in sophomore year, and I don't have perfect pitch. So I should have been working on those skills so that my ears could continue to be active, Now I practice sight singing every day because I'm smart. But not then. So there is dictation, and there is 4-part dictation. And when we were in college, 4-part dictation meant, okay, here's the key that we were in, here's the entire 8 bars, here's the first 4 bars, here's the last 4 bars, here's the entire 8 bars. Bang! You're done. This guy decided to just hit a note on the piano, which had no relation to the key that the piece was in, and then play the 8 bars, and then he was done. And there were 7 of us in the room. So we were scrambling, trying to, okay, flat. So I think the key, I think it's actually in C sharp. Yeah. Well, the piece has flown by now. And then said, okay, let's do something a little easier. Single line dictation. Okay, so he goes, okay, next. 7 of us are in the room going, looking at each other going. And we all go to lunch afterwards, there's other things, musical terms, So we go to lunch and we're talking about it, and all of us sit around the room going, holding back. Who does dictation like that? So anyway, we come back for personal interviews after lunch. And I sit down with him, his name is Richard Pittman. And he says to me, you remind me of Pierre Monteux, the French conductor. And I thought, comparing somebody famous, this guy is good. He says, you're very charming. I know. He says, look, I think those things are important. You get around this part very well. You have a very nice personality. I think you can really get it all to do anything you want. Which is, you got to tell 100 people that it is Caribbean, not Caribbean. You got to convince them that your way, at least at this moment in your life, you would convince them this. That's a very important skill to have. Just listen, I think those are great things. And if I were to take you on your conducting alone, I would save a spot for you right now. Not even hearing the last group of 7. And then, I'm telling you, he's actually coming to guest conduct this orchestra. This is my orchestra here at Omaha. And you can ask him. He took out my test. He held it between 2 fingers like that. I'm not And he said, but this is ridiculous. He says, look, it is not enough to have only charm. He says, I want you to have substance. Because you don't want to walk around being a charlatan. You don't want to be a fake. You want to be the real thing because your music means something. You have to get to the essence of this music. And it requires you to do the work. He says, look, I don't know if I'm going to take you or not, but I can tell you this. If I do, I want you to work very hard. Because if you don't, I will not hesitate to kick you out of school. Turn my stem. Here I am, this young boy, housing project, mother on welfare, and I'm standing at the doorway of the place where my dreams can be born again and soar. Only to have someone say, some teacher say, you haven't made it yet. You still have work to do. I gotta tell you, I worked my butt off for this man. You see, the next year, by the second year of school, I was actually his graduate teaching assistant. And he is so proud. And I wanted our reunion in Omaha to meet this man who had turned my STEM. So that's why he's coming here as a guest conductor. But it changed my life really forever because it gave me a new sense of work ethic and a new sense of ethic, really. Remember when your STEM was turned? It was some teacher. I dare you to come up with a list of 10 people who have been most influential in your life and not have a teacher on that list. I say the same thing, by the way, to Fortune 500 company executives. You cannot. Because this is the business that you and I are in. We're in the business of changing lives and turning STEMs. You know, if you fast forward from Beethoven arriving in Vienna, a few years, he writes this great Fifth Symphony.